So it's been a little while since I've actually been on my workbench here. I've been working on this PCB for a Xilinx Zinc 7000. I've recently ordered up PCBs for that and parts, and so I probably have 3-4 weeks before I'll get back to that specific project. But in the meantime, I've had a few boxes of PCBs that have come in that I've not been doing anything with. So I'll probably jump back and start working on one of these that's been just kind of sitting in my backlog for a little bit. And I'm just going to run through. I don't even remember what all PCBs I might have here. I know there's a couple that I want to work on. But just taking a quick look at these. So this is a small PCB. That is going to go with one of my other PCBs. So this is just a small, well, let's just double check which one is this. Okay, so this one is just a little PCB that I'm going to work on. And let me flip to a different camera here. So what this is that you're seeing is just a PCB that is going to take a small little CPLD that I've got. And so this is a board. I did a version of this for a video just using Easy EDA Pro to sketch out a little board. But anyways, this is just a simple little CPLD, and I'll probably populate this and just see if I can program that CPLD and work with that. And you won't be able to see it very well here, but there's a part number here. It's an XC9572XL. Is the actual CPLD that I'll be working with. So a really simple little board, a little clock, little power, and then just basically headers. Well, to program it, I think I have that header right here, and then some just I/O ports. So we'll see what I can do with that one. So that's just a little board I can work with. Jumping back over here. So this would be a Spartan 3 PCB. And you can see this one has the NIG finish. It has a little bit different color to it than this silver. And this is, again, just a little dev board, but I have a bunch of Spartan 3s that I have, and I posted on this a while back, but I had built this board, and maybe even since doing that, I've learned so much on the PCB side of things. So we'll see as I reflect back on this how much I would change already. But I think I'm going to try to get that Spartan 3 up and running. So I do have some power stage or power rails over here. I have 4 of these type of miscellaneous just I/O ports that I can use to connect to this. So on the board itself, it's not going to do much. I'm going to apply power, get my power rails, try to get this Spartan 3 up and running. And then I do have a program header for it and maybe a couple other headers just to do some tests. For example, just make sure I/O is working. I've got some oscillator, reset button, just some miscellaneous little things. So I might populate that up. And this will be using a specific regulator, a pair of regulators that I've not used before. So that might be interesting to go through that. So this is a project that I can take on. Third box. And this is one that I'm guessing some of you won't have too much interest in, but I still want to kind of play around with it. This would be an old Xilinx FPGA. And so what you're seeing here, this is an old Xilinx. It's an XC5215, a little dev board I had put together for that. And I just thought I would play around with that a bit. And I have this set up so that I can actually, of course, get the FPGA itself on here. I've got an oscillator, something for the actual programming of it, a backup option that if I can't get that to work, I do have a good old flash that I can use to have the program for this. And then I got some boot mode options, and that's pretty much it. So this is a pretty simple little board. Definitely not the capacitors like I've seen on some of the newer boards I've been working on. And just a couple of these generic I/O type connectors I'll put on here. And so that might be something that I experiment with. So I've got a few different boards here then, I guess, that I could be working with. And I think probably what I'm going to work on next is this Spartan 3 AN. Out of these boards, this one has a bit more to it. It's this Enig finish, and we'll see if I can get that Spartan up and running. It's an old Spartan, but see if I can make that work. Whereas this one here on the right, this XC5215 is going to require an old dev tool set, an old tool chain, and I'm just curious. I do want to get that up and running just to see how it gets programmed, and I'm sure I'll be annoyed by the tool set, but let's see what I can learn from it. And this one is all 5 volt, which is kind of nice, especially if I get back to my 386, 486 builds, something like a 5 volt FPGA definitely might have some nice possibility if the tool chain is usable or workable. So that's it for now, and just a few different boards that I can play with, from really simple to maybe a little bit more involved on these two. Nothing like the SOC board, the Zinc 7000 that I just ordered. That's got a lot more to it than all of this. But maybe something else I'll get along the way here is both of these boards have, this is a little FPGA, this is a bit bigger FPGA. So I can just simply go through and do a whole bunch of practice soldering. If I get this up and running, practice soldering a few of these boards. So I'll come back in a future video, probably working on this guy next. And maybe by the time I get that up and running, my other PCB will come in for the Zinc. And if I get bored along the way, I have these 2 other little boards that just might be kind of fun to work through. Oh, and I almost forgot this box I've had sitting around also. This shows you how far behind I am. This was another order. This would be back to my Lattice FPGAs. So this board here, the first of 5 I've got sitting here, is really the main board. This would be for an ICE 40, and it's a 256 ball VGA. So it's the ICE 40 HX8K CT256. And so I have that board. Also using some of these new regulators I've not used before. So that is something new between this board and then back to this Spartan 3. So I'm going to try those regulators. But pretty much same idea here. It's just this is the ICE 40 instead of the Spartan. Again, you can see it's the same Enig type finish. It's a BGA package. I'm using those same connectors, and then hopefully I have everything I need for power and programming and things like that. So that I'll work with on the ICE 40. And then to go with that, I had a bunch of other just miscellaneous PCBs, and some of these are pretty boring, but they are just really add-on cards that will leverage these connectors on here. And so this first one is just a simple little, really just a test board that I can test all the IOs. So if I want to cycle through all the IOs, I just have LEDs that'll light up. Again, very boring, but the idea is this would connect on here or whichever one of these, and I can test and make sure that I was able to solder this on correctly and get all the signals out and to this board here. So that's all this is. This is just another one of these add-on boards to go with the Lattice board, and this is just going to give me some static RAM that I can work with, so I can plug this in and work with static RAM. And I have to go back and double check which of these ports, I think it was maybe down here, that I would give access to some RAM to that Lattice. This one is just giving me access to PMODs. If I remember right, let me get it opened up. And so this one is just a PMOD breakout board. So I've got a whole bunch of different PMODs from different Digilent projects that I've worked on. And this will give me a bunch of those headers. And these are spaced out so I can use the double wide PMOD setups or just singles. And again, connect in here and just let me access those PMODs from the lattice here. And then finally, this last one is just a VGA PCB that I can then generate a VGA signal out of the lattice, the 256, and test VGA output. So back a few months ago, I had some videos where I was playing around with the lattice and VGA. So this will just continue some of that work that I've set aside for a little bit. So pretty simple. Again, this will use these connectors, connect in, and then essentially does my digital to analog just through these simple little resistor ladders out to a VGA connector. So I've had a previous video where I talked through the design of the PCBs here, but basically, I can come in here, get my main center one working. I have the VGA. I've got this other just miscellaneous breakout board I can use. And then I've got the static RAM that I can use, and then this just other test board. So however I want to use those, I can plug those in here. So maybe getting in here and working with it like so. But this is one more that would be on my short list to work with. So I think if I can get a little bit of time to put into this, the Xilinx Spartan 3, then I might jump back over to this lattice and see if I can't get the 256 ball version working. And for those, I do have another little board that came in separately. Let's see if I can find it here. On this ICE board, I also had built this little PCB that is just a backup power option. So if I find out that these new regulators that I'm going to experiment with don't work, I have another power option, and I've just got this set up pin-wise that it can pretty much just sit in here. I can just put on some headers, pin headers, and this could sit here and supply power. Don't know if I'll need that, or maybe I'll build a couple of these and just test out this alternate power. This is using a TPS 71334 instead of the regulators that I plan to use down with this, which are SIS 8009s. And I'm using those same regulators over here. It's SY8009 BABC. So a couple new regulators to work with as I get into all these boards. So I almost forgot about the ICE board and these related boards, but that's one more thing that's been kind of sitting here. And so maybe again, these will be the two that I'll work on next.